Duke basketball never stops, and that is certainly the case when it comes to recruiting. We got to turn our attention to the class of 2024. What current players have a scholarship offer from Duke, and what's next in Jon Scheyer's next recruiting class that he's trying to build? We're going to talk about all of that and a whole lot more on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. It's so great to have you here with us on this Thursday, February 16th, 2023. My name is JJ Jackson, proudly serving as the host of Locked On Blue Devils. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to our podcast for free wherever you get your podcasts. You're able to watch the show daily on YouTube as well. Press that subscribe button. Your support means the absolute world. Follow us on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils and follow me on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. It's that time of year with Duke basketball never stopping that we turn our attention to the class of 2024. The next recruiting class due up for Jon Scheyer. I want to talk about that with our good pal Jason Jordan, Locked On's #1 recruiting insider, and he's here with us on the show once again today. Jason, I hope you're doing well, my friend. Thanks for taking some time again.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. Doing well, man. Hope you are.
I appreciate that. It's always fun to talk about Duke basketball recruiting. We always have a lot of names to talk about. So many players in the mix, so many great players over the years. And, of course, all of our recruiting conversations are brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. This is the official college football and college basketball recruiting sponsor across the Locked On Network. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so as we talk about the future of Duke basketball, do want to give a plug to some of the other top recruits that Duke has had over the last decade, Jason. It is All-Star Week in the National Basketball Association. We're getting ready for the festivities, and there were three Duke Blue Devils who were named starters for this year's event with Kyrie Irving, Zion Williamson, and Jason Tatum. No surprise there, huh?
Yeah, no, none at all. Unfortunately, I hate that Zion can't play, man. That sucks. But, you know, I think the other two are pretty solid. I think they'll carry that Duke Blue very well. I think both of them could be the NBA All-Star MVP. Either one of them, you take your pick. So yeah, they'll be well represented. That's definitely big for Duke for sure.
Can't wait to see what that looks like. It was awesome. We saw earlier this week, Coach K went back to his first game inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. But earlier this season, a few weeks back, he was seen in New York at a game between the Nets and the Knicks, and had a special moment courtside with Seth Curry and R.J. Barrett, Kyrie Irving. I mean, he's got so many guys all across the league.
Yeah, man, I love to see that. I love to see him out, enjoying himself, kind of relaxing. And honestly, I don't like no shade to any coach because I know people are going to. I don't like to see the coach at all the games the next year. Like, just, play it like K, man. Stay home, man. Go home. Let the other guy, get your shadow is kind of big. Your shadow's kind of big. So I like the way he's playing it. He's enjoying himself and, living his best life, which is he's more than earned.
I truly didn't think we'd see him at all this season. I was surprised when Tuesday night came. And there is, of course, the Mike Bray connection for that game and the 8 years they spent together on staff. But right, that's a whole nother thing. Let's talk 2024. The next class that Jon Scheyer really needs to put a lot of focus and emphasis with, because we've got a couple of guys in 2023 that are going to be impact players. We know what that class now looks like. But turning our attention to 2024 right out of the gates, Jason, only one commit right now in the class, and Darren Harris. We'll get to him in particular in just a moment. But are you surprised at all that it's been a slower recruiting start for Scheyer?
Somewhat. I mean, you get a little spoiled in them first two. When you go back to back, like like Drake for the number one class, you're going to slow down a little bit. I mean, but he's in contention for some heavyweights, and he could certainly make it a trifecta. I think he's in contention, strong for another good group in the 2024 class. So I don't think he'll be down long, or it won't be slow long.
There are some players in this 2022 class that are currently freshmen right now that we expect to be back for a few seasons in Durham playing for the Blue Devils. And so looking at the class and then looking at 2023's class in particular, for a while, because it was a slow start, Jason, I was kind of assuming, okay, this is not going to be the most impressive Duke class that they're going to go after in 2024. And then you look at the names that we're about to tell you about, and so many top guys are still including the Brotherhood on their finalist lists. So after all, it does seem like Jon Scheyer is going to have to go and try and go after one of the top classes in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I've said this so many times. It's in way. At the end of the day, Duke is Duke. So they're always gonna have the attention and the interest of top 25 guys, 100% every year. Just forget about it. It's gonna happen. So closing them, it'll be different. I had this conversation the other day about Duke's 2022 class and how, maybe things aren't working the way and timing wise that the exit may not be the timing that we all thought for certain guys. So how is that going to affect 2024? And it looks like, to your point, it's not really affecting it to any. It's more of a numbers game, I think. And, how many are we going to take as opposed to having to replace multiple guys? So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I already look at this year's starting backcourt with Proctor and Jeremy Roach and eligibility that they've got for next year. And then you factor in McCain and Caleb Foster coming in next season. The logjam that could be created. It's a good problem to have. And I'm already wanting to answer those questions right now. We should probably wait and see how the tournament run ends up this season for Duke. So talking about that 2024 class, though, they do have one commit. Of course, it's from their Paul VI pipeline there with Darren Harris, the number 53 player in the composite rankings for the 2024 class there out of Fairfax, Virginia. Remind us a little bit about Darren Harris.
Yeah, well, marksman, 6'4", 6'5", just adept at knocking down shots. He's going to stay. I could talk about the 3-level scoring ability, but at the end of the day, let me cut to the chase. He's going to stay on the court because of his ability to stretch the defense. And he does that very well, could potentially be the best three-point stroker in that 2024 class. And so he fits the bill for Duke in that way for sure. But a worker, I'm not saying that he's one-dimensional. He can get to the basket. He can score at all 3 levels. He's a playmaker and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, be clear, he's going to stay on the court because of his ability to stretch the defense and knock down shots from the perimeter, and even the threat of him knocking down shots from the perimeter. But he's a system guy, runs things well, plays defense, plays with a high motor. But offensively, he's definitely skilled. And he doesn't hug the college 3-point line either. He's got range on that jump shot.
So we talk about the school he's coming from, right? Paul VI and the Duke connections that we've seen over the last few years with Jeremy Roach and then Trevor Keels, his one-and-done year from Duke following his career there at Paul VI. There is a chance, less than 2% I'm going to throw out there, Jason. There is a chance that Jeremy Roach and Darren Harris could play together because Roach would qualify for the COVID year of eligibility. Yeah. And if he really wanted to cash in and go 5 years playing for Duke and be one of their all-time career games player and that sort of thing, he would have the chance to join a team with a fellow high school alum from Paul VI. This pipeline, though, that they've got at this school, it seems to be working for Jon Scheyer with the commitments that he's secured there recently.
Yeah, Paul VI, number 3 team in the ESPN 25. So that ain't, and that ain't no slouch. And then they come from the WCAC, which is, other than the NIBC, which is by far in 3 levels of a million, by far the best high school conference in the world. But IMG, Montverde, Sunrise, La Lumiere, that ain't even fair. The WCAC is definitely a top 3 conference in America. So no slouches over there at Paul VI. That's a great pipeline to have. definitely in Northern Virginia over there.
I love that. All right, let's talk about a couple of other guys that hold scholarship offers in the class of 2024, and we'll do that after our first time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It's an amazing time of year. We mentioned earlier that it is the All-Star break. It's the midway point of the NBA season, and it's the perfect time now for you to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. New customers get a no-sweat first bet for up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Moving forward here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside my pal Jason Jordan, Locked On's recruiting insider, talking all things 2024. We mentioned only one commit so far, but there are 6 other players that currently hold scholarship offers from Duke. Let's talk about 2 of the top 3 guys in the class that currently hold scholarship offers from Duke. Dylan Harper, who has the Blue Devils as a finalist, along with Auburn, Indiana, Kansas, and Rutgers out of Don Bosco Prep in Ramsey, New Jersey, his hometown. And then Nas Cunningham, who's got the Blue Devils as a finalist as well. Duke, Rutgers, Kansas, Memphis, and UCLA. He's out of the Atlanta area. So 2 of these guys, top 5 players in the class, and they've got Duke as one of their Final 5 schools.
Yeah, I mean, huge. Both players, elite high-level guys, definitely worthy of their rankings. Dylan's a great combo guard extraordinaire, can fill it up, can definitely run the show, scores at all 3 levels, dynamic scorer. I mean, that may be the best combo in the class, potentially. Depends on where you're putting him. I mean, he's definitely a top 5 prospect in the class. Excluding nobody, and maybe even in the country, if you throw out classes. Not Cunningham. He opened with a big reputation. I mean, a lot of people had him the #1 player in the class a year ago. He's dropped a little bit, but still a dynamic scorer, 6'8" wing, can stretch the defense, score on all 3 levels. Over that overtime elite, playing with a lot of guys that are going to have pro careers in the NBA. So he's only getting better in that regard. So, and both of them, definitely Duke very high for both of them. I mean, they made the final list, but you know how that goes. I mean, I would say that Duke is in the top tier of their lists, for sure, from what I've been hearing consistently.
That's what we love to hear. I want to put you on the spot. If because these guys being top 5 players in the class, you're instantly going to assume it's just a conversation. These are likely one-and-done players, and then we'll turn to 2025, the Boozer twins, Cooper Flag, the whole 9, and we'll turn it over. So with that in mind, and with these top 5 players for both Harper and Cunningham, have there been one-and-done Duke players in the last decade plus that their games are similar to? That's really putting you on the spot, I know. But
I hate to do it to him. But Dylan, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to compare anybody to Kyrie. Jay Williams. Let's look at Jay Williams. Dylan Harper's kind of like a Jay Williams mold. Just a dynamic scorer, a sniper, a guy who plays with a lot of energy. Let's be clear. I'm not saying he's Jay, because Jay Williams is one of the greatest guards in college basketball history. But Dylan Harper, very explosive guard, can launch it from anywhere. He has an NBA game. He's like a guard, like an NBA game, has the ball on a thread, can score from the mid-range. And he can make for his teammates. I mean, he's very, very aware, high IQ guy, adept at controlling tempo, great with pace. You're not speeding him up. He's going to speed up when he's ready, and he's going by you.
Yeah.
So be clear on that. But I would say that's a decent comparison. Nas, that's tough. Nas, hard to say. It's just a part of me wants to say AJ Griffin, just because of his ability to stretch the defense. And sometimes he resorts to that a lot, kind of the way AJ did. probably a little bit more athletic, even though people forget AJ was a super athlete too.
Yeah.
And always show it, but he was one of the more athletic players on the roster last year. Quiet as it's kept. So I would say those are solid comparisons. Those are solid comparisons.
That's what we look for. Duke fans always want those comparisons. So I'm feeding to them right now, and I'm setting you up there. People can let us know in the comments what they think as well. So let's keep it moving. So Dylan Harper, Naz Cunningham, those are the two players with scholarship offers right now from Duke who have announced finalists in terms of a Final Five. Duke happens to be in both of their Final Fives, and we're already seeing 24/7 Sports crystal ball projections for Harper in favor of Duke. So we'll see if Duke can officially get that one done. All right, the number one player in the country, according to the composite rankings from 247, is Trey Johnson out of Lake Highlands in Dallas, Texas. What do we need to know about Trey Johnson?
I love Trey. I mean, probably the best scorer in the class. Great size, 6'4", 6'5", stretches the defense, can play both guard positions, but he's at his best when he's downhill, looking to score, knocking down shots from the NBA range consistently, and plays with a lot of confidence. He thinks that the ball is going every time he shoots it, and he's kind of looking at the rim like who moved it if he doesn't make the shot, but he plays with a lot of confidence, and I mean that in an amazingly great way. So, high-level scorer, competes on the defensive end as well, but a guy who's definitely going to be able to fill it up, and a guy who I think that'll be an instant translation into the college game. I expect him to put up a lot of points in his freshman year.
Perfect. I love that. Trey Johnson, again, no finalists, but Duke's smart. They gave him a scholarship offer, and hopefully we can get some momentum in that direction. A couple of more here. Top 15 players. Number 10, Bryson Tucker out of IMG Academy, Bradenton, Florida. And then at number 13, Carter Bryant, no finalist announced, but he's from Sage Hill, Newport Coast, California. What can you tell us about Carter Bryant and Bryson Tucker?
Yeah, they're similar players. Go about 6'8", 6'9", very utility guys who do a lot of different things well. Carter's a super versatile guy. He can play a point forward position. Just dynamic scorer, slasher. Understands situations and matchups like a veteran. So he almost has an NBA game. Same with Bryson. Just understands when he has this sounds very remedial, but the most, they like to say the most simple things are the most profound. He understands when it's time to take the guy on the low block. He understands when he has a slower guy, and he exploits matchups. Both of them exploit matchups very well. Carter Bryant is a guy I'm very high on. My guy, M. Grads, put me on to him last year. First guy to ever talk about Carter Bryant. And I mean, ever. Nobody was talking about him. And I'll never forget, he called me and told me all about him. He was like, I'm telling you. And so, so he's a guy I've been high on ever since then, and a guy that should flourish at the next level just because of his size and his ability.
Let me get some player comps. Let me put you back on the spot. I'm sensing Justice Winslow, maybe Mark Mitchell. Maybe that's not fair. I want to hear kind of who's coming to mind. 6'8", 6'9", can do a little bit of everything.
And we're talking Duke comps.
Yes.
Yeah. I can see Justice, Jason, Tatum. They don't shoot as good as Jason, so you can't really put anybody close to Jason.
That's not fair.
He's like JJ Redick, and he's 6'8" and posting everybody up. So, I would say Justice is a good comparison there. Justice is a good comparison.
Was there somebody outside of the Duke world that you thought of quicker?
Oh, man.
If not, we could stay Duke, and I'd love to hear.
Maybe Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller. There's some some similarities there with Carter. I would say that, which is high praise because Brandon Miller is the number one freshman and on the number one team. Be clear. I would say those two. Those are pretty solid comps.
Love that. All right, we've got one more to go with a scholarship offer from Duke. Tyler Betsy has a scholarship offer to play for the Duke Blue Devils. The number 54 player in the country. It's interesting. Darren Harris is number 53. So those two guys kind of side by side. Are their games similar at all? What can you tell us about Tyler Betsy out of Windsor, Connecticut?
Yeah, they are similar. I mean, Tyler's a guy who stretches the defense too. He was one of the better shooters. I think he played for the Wrens this past summer. But
that was Filipowski's team, correct? I think Filipowski had some. Okay.
Yes, but a guy who definitely, at his side. But he slashes, gets to the rim too. Plays very well in transition, and a guy who gets after it on the defensive end. But he was one of the better long ball guys in the EYBL this past summer. So that's the thing that would stick out. But he gets to the cup. He can get to the cup, gets by his man from the perimeter, so he can play like a 2-3. And he almost has an NBA game too, because he knows how to post up, shoots a lot of fades, 1-2 dribble pull-ups, a lot of different combos and counters. So highly skilled guy, Tyler.
Jason Jordan is Locked On Recruiting Insider, and he's joining us here on Locked On Blue Devils right now. So players that have scholarship offers from Jon Scheyer and company in the class of 2024, Trey Johnson, Dylan Harper, Naz Cunningham, Bryson Tucker, Carter Bryant, and Tyler Betsey. I give you those 6 names. If you were to give me the 2 or 3 Duke fans should feel most confident about, I feel like the easy answer is to say the guys that already have them listed as a finalist in the Final 5. But again, no predictions here. Just who should they feel the most optimistic about, Jason?
I would, Dylan Harper, I would feel pretty good about that, and that's a big.
That's great. Yeah,
that's huge. That may be the biggest one. I shouldn't say that because I feel like they're still in contention for a lot of them. But I would say Dylan Harper. I know they're very strong with. I think they're very strong with Tyler Betsey. And then it just we got to see with because if they're not. I'm trying to see how Trey Johnson is going to feel with Dylan Harper there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then what's it going to look like? Because there is a log jam with talented, dynamic scoring guards at Duke by the time they get to campus, or will there be? Because the reality is Duke's going to have some players next year that they weren't, air quotes, supposed to have, and we all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Duke people know what I'm talking about. Next year. So we'll have to see. But I would say those 2 at this moment in time, I would say the Duke should feel good about their standing there.
I love that. That's awesome. And we'll see again what the recruiting class looks like once you factor in players returning for next year's roster and that sort of thing. So as we wind down, it's been an eventful week for these Duke freshmen. We saw the foul at the end of the Virginia game with Filipowski involved. It did not score at all in that contest, and then bounced back against Notre Dame with the casual 22 points on 9 of 16 shooting from the floor. Mark Mitchell hits a big-time 3 to seal the game at the end of it. Derek Lively is getting more and more comfortable. Tyrese Proctor all of a sudden is playing the most minutes out of anybody on the squad. And then Derek Whitehead has turned into a 3-point marksman on the team. I mean, the freshmen this year, it's been an eventful week for them.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like, people always ask me about Duke. What do you think about Duke? And it's like, it's easy to say, oh, Duke's down this year. They got 8 losses. The reality is they haven't been at full strength. And, it's tough to find that chemistry. But, if they're starting to get healthy and people are starting to come around, Duke could be a team to watch out for headed into March. The thing that I would say that stands out the most about them is they got to put teams away. They could be up 10, 12 points and they let off the gas. And that's the mark of a young team. But that's something they're going to have to make adjustments on. John's going to have to get on them to make adjustments in that regard. I think that's why Kay was so quiet sitting courtside. Because he was like, no, look, let me tell y'all something. I'm just going to shut up. I'm just going to shut up. I'm going to be stoic. And I'm not mad at that because I probably would be the same way.
He's welcome back anytime, right? Like they were talking about, his name is on the court. He just took a little while to make his entrance back at Cameron. Had to play it cool.
Had to. The only way to play it.
That's right. Well, Jason, thanks so much always for chatting with us here. You are, in fact, Locked On's recruiting insider, a massive Twitter following. Where can people find all of your work and maybe some projects you got working on?
Yeah, social media right now, definitely where I'm going to have everything coming. So
Love
that's
it.
the easiest way to find me there. there. Thank you. You have it right there. And then Jason C. Jordan on Instagram. So definitely check me out.
Perfect. We'll talk to you again soon, Jason. Thanks for the time today.
Thank you.
All right, that's Jason Jordan. He's joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and that's going to do it for our program today. Thank you for watching and supporting Locked On Blue Devils each and every day. Be sure to follow and subscribe to us on YouTube and our podcast platform as well. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.